It's at the very beginning. But yes, other than that.
Okay, good.
But you're right, kind of. But most of what we have to do is discussion, and a lot of that's later in the meeting. So, Holly, are you ready? Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Nacogdoches Independent School District Board of Trustees. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and the notice of this meeting has been legally posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Board members James Irvin and Russell Smith will not be able to join us tonight. Please remember that items do not have to be taken in the order that they're shown on the agenda. Also, please join us in turning your cell phones to some type of silent mode. Next, I'll ask Steve Green if he'll lead us in the invocation.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day we've had today. We thank you for these children that are here tonight to help present. We pray that we will be with the children of this district. We pray that your wisdom will come upon this meeting tonight. And when any decisions that we will make under the umbrella of your almighty power. Pray that you will always be with us. And these things we ask in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. And now I'll call on Ms. Julia Wells, Regay Elementary School Principal, to introduce the students that will lead us in the pledge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
The flags. Thank you.
Good evening, President Davis, board members, Dr. Hayes. We have brought members of our flag and safety patrol, and they are going to come up and introduce themselves tonight.
This is Angela. Vanessa. That's Claude's. That's Claude's.
Hi, my name is Haley. Hi, my name is Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Cody Claude. My name is Logan Russell.
My name is Vanessa. My name is Peyton. My name is Alexis. My name is Brenna.
So rise with us, please.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Good looking great students there.
Yes.
And next, doing things a little differently tonight, we're going to go on to an action item on our agenda. And action items are listed and will be discussed separately. The first item on tonight's agenda is gifts and donations over $2,500, and I'll call on Dr. Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, what a great way to start a meeting for those young people. I'd like to call Jimmy Mize, chairman of the Nacogdoches EDC, to the podium now to make the presentation of a donation recommendation.
Board members, this is a item that's in your blue folder. It's got the blue tab on it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. I'd like to make a recommendation to the board that you accept the contribution from the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation in the amount of $54,315.53.
Can you tell us where that money came from, please?
The money came from a couple of different sources. Part of that came from the membership of the Nacogdoches EDC, and then also from Southern Power, one of our corporate partners, as well as Prime Acres, a supplier for Southern Power.
Very generous. We have a recommendation that we accept this gift. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that that the donation of $10,550 from Southern Power, $10,500 from Prime and $33,315.53 from Nacogdoches EDC for a total of $54,315.53.
I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Second from Ms. Rushing. Any discussion or questions of Mr. Mize? Yes.
Sorry, not for Mr. Mize. One thing I think
Yeah.
you said, 10,550.
Yes.
Is what you mentioned. Just to
Oh,
correct that.
10,500.
Did I say 50?
Yes.
Holly, do you have that correct? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anything else?
You know what that, the audience may not know what we're going to use that for.
Why don't you,
Talk about it
we're
just
going
a
to do
minute.
something just quickly after we accept it.
And I'm not sure, not to rip on Steve, but I don't know if he said I moved to accept it. I think he just,
I move to accept.
yeah.
He read what was in here, approve the donation.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor? And that, of course, is unanimous. Thank you very much. Do we have more?
Yes, sir, we do. Just a second.
Okay, they'll be back. And I think this goes into the next portion of our agenda, the recognition portion. And the recognition portion of the board meeting is the opportunity for us to recognize, actually, no. But this is the recognition portion. Recognize students, staff, volunteers, and community partners. Tonight's honoree is the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation. And for that, I will call on Dr. Hayes again.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, this is somewhat awkward in the way that we're doing this, because the money has to be accepted, and then we recognize the folks who are giving it. So that's why it seems somewhat awkward. So just bear with us. It's all as a matter that the money's going to come to us anyway, so one way or another. Mr. Coker, Director of the Nacogdoches ISD Technical Training Center, will come to the podium and recognize our community partners at this time.
President Davis, board members, Dr. Davis, really a pleasure to be here tonight. Never mind all the something about it. Nothing is more important to our county's economic future than our ability to provide local employers with skilled, productive, and reliable workforce. NEDCO understands the importance of this statement and has played a crucial role in the creation of the Nacogdoches County Technical Training Center to address the workforce training gap in our county. We're thankful and proud of our relationship with NEDCO and our industry sponsors, Southern Power and Prime Acres Management. Supports like this will allow us to provide meaningful job skills training to our county workforce. A well-trained workforce helps existing businesses remain successful and helps us recruit new businesses and industry to Nacogdoches County. The TTC will serve as a training facility for local companies and work closely with NEDCO, local businesses, and Angelina College to identify knowledge and skills needed by our workforce and provide targeted training to address those needs. We look forward to the growth of our programs, and we are pleased to have NEDCO, Southern Power, Prime Acres Management, and Angelina College partners in our success. Chairman Miles, would you come to the podium, please?
Okay, now I'll give you the story. The Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation is pleased to be a small part of the funding for the Nacogdoches Technical Training Center. What began in 2010 as a project that the County of Nacogdoches and NEDCO has developed into a first-class facility that can serve not only high school students, but also adults in the County of Nacogdoches. When the county made the determination that it could not own the facility because of legal reasons, Nacogdoches Independent School District quickly stepped up to take on the responsibility and ownership of the center. For that, we're greatly appreciative. There have been many individuals, organizations, and educational institutions such as Angelina College that have joined forces to create this critical piece of economic development, workforce training. NEDCO has been the depository for funds pledged for the center. It's a pleasure to see these funds not only from our membership, but additional contributions from Southern Power and from Prime Acres. Southern Power offered its fuel suppliers the opportunity to bid to deliver the first fuel to the facility, an amount which Southern Power would match. Prime Acres Management was a successful bidder and it created an overall gift of $21,000. This amount, when combined with the funds from our membership, makes up the total gift of $54,315. also thank Mr. Ed, he's a past chair of NACO. Ron Collins is our treasurer, he's here with us tonight. Certainly Nancy Wyndham, our president, and Mary Frances Bradford is here as well. And then Marilyn Hartsook, the executive director of Workforce Solutions, another user of this facility, and we appreciate you, Marilyn, all that you do for us as well. I think I've got that's right. Okay, now I would say, should I?
Yeah, let's everybody,
Yeah.
let's come up here.
Certainly all of you, I guess, that I've called, if you'll come forward, I think that would be.
Board members, if you'll follow me.
I'm sorry, I left that one. Steve McInnes is also with Southern Power. He's in fuel procurement for the facility there. And Ron Ray, I'm sorry, I left them all out. Ron Ray, our major partner. Ron Ray is plant manager, and then Mike Casey is with the corporate office out of Birmingham. And certainly, they've been wonderful to our community. They've been a big part of the Cushing School District, and so if we'll get them to match what they did for Cushing and Nacogdoches, we'll all so they are great partners. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Well, each check, I believe that we're going to do one check at a time, the EDC check and then the Southern Power, and then is that correct, Dr. Hayes? That is correct. All those involved.
And if everyone, we'll start off with, gotcha, but it's all right. And then we just replace that.
Oh,
Yeah, y'all.
is that what you're talking about?
Real quick, before y'all leave, I just want to say that I'm excited about the relationship with the Nacogdoches EDC, the city of Nacogdoches, Nacogdoches County, the businesses represented, and the other community partners who are working to make the Nacogdoches County region economically viable. We have a great working relationship with these entities. They're all mentioned here. I would also like to thank the Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees for their vision to make the Nacogdoches Technical Training Center a reality. Board, your boldness is unique in the state. I'm quite sure that there are no other ISDs in Texas that took the leading role in providing adult continuing education and technical training opportunities for the citizens of the entire region and community. You are bold, and I applaud your trust in me and the educators of our district. Your unselfish approach is a model for how governmental service ought to work. Thank you very much. And again, thank you, Dr. Simon, for driving over, and all of you. So thank you very much. And y'all have a good evening. And
Thank
this is
y'all.
going to be a great partnership. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is the time the board has set aside to receive citizen comments. Individuals wishing to address the board should have completed the form located on the table by the entrance door and provided to me prior to the evening. Comments will be kept to a maximum of 3 minutes and should pertain to public education. Groups of 5 or more individuals having the same concern should have a single spokesperson for that group. Individuals should refrain from yelling, using profanity, interrupting other speakers, or engaging in a disruptive conduct during the board meeting, including the public comment time. The board cannot respond to complaints in this open forum, but can inform you of the complaint procedures available under board policy. Forms will be considered in a first-come, first-served basis, and the total time allotted to this portion of the meeting is 30 minutes. Mr. Martin will keep time for us, and I will call it to the speaker's attention when their time limit has expired. I only have one tonight, and that is Mr. G.W. Neal, a face familiar to all of us. We won't charge you for this time, Mr. Neal.
How about that?
There you go.
Okay, good. We are Concerned Black Men of Nacogdoches Chapter. We are part of the national chapter, Concerned Black Men. And board, I think as you see there, you will find a brochure from our national chapter that tells you a little bit more about our Concerned Black Men initiatives and what we're planning to do. We're a nonprofit, 501c3 organization. Our motto is Caring for You. The national organization was established in 1975 by 5 police officers in Philadelphia. He saw the need to help young African-American men who were struggling in the neighborhood. The emphasis in the brochure will say the emphasis on African-American. Well, our local chapter is focused on providing guidance, support, and encouragement for all students. I'd like to introduce our local chapter at this time and ask the men to stand. I'm going to call them by name and ask you all to remain standing just for a minute. And I'm going to start to the back here. I want to introduce to Mr. Winston Baker, Mr. Vincent Smith, Mr. Shelton Jones, Dr. Freddie Avant, Mr. Gossett, Reggie Gossett. On the back there, Michael Reeves. You know when you're young, you're one of the young guys. Okay, Mr. Lindell Smith, Lindsay, Joe Houston, Mr. Harlan Brooks, and Mr. Kenneth Farr. There are 22 of us, and gentlemen, if you stay with me just for a minute. We come from different backgrounds, diverse background board. Some of us are retired, some of us are still young enough to continue to work. But we come from educators, administrators, blue collar, healthcare, social services, managers, all different backgrounds. However, we have a common thread. That is that we care for the students in our community. And we'll focus on being positive role models and working with our students in our community. We feel that if we can be a positive role model and help our students be better students, we have a better community. So Dr. Hayes and the board, we're excited about the opportunity, looking forward to working with you. We already have a commitment as we work with Emmeline Carpenter School. We talked to Mr. James. James, will you please stand? James, one of our members too. He's in the back there. Principal from Emmeline Carpenter. We appreciate it. And so, but Dr. Hayes and the board, we're looking forward to working with you and the opportunity and thing that we can do to help kids be successful. That's what we want to do. We realize we're looking at the elementary campus, but if it's also need for middle school, wherever you need us, we're going to be asking you for your support and giving us guidance. But again, on behalf of our chapter, we're looking forward to working with you. And we have a large fundraising gala planned for sometime in February that'll help us raise money for scholarships for students. And we're just excited about the opportunity in this community to provide support and help our students be where we need to be. So thank you all for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to stand and slip out because some of us have commitments, and I know you have a board meeting. So those of you that need to slip out, board members, we can do that. Concerned Black Men, we can do that now. Some of us have church going on, but we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Y'all don't all have to leave.
Mr. Jones may want to stay. He's probably
Yeah,
missing
he's
this.
missing these. Maybe he's not missing them so much. We now come to the information items and reports segment of tonight's meeting, and we'll begin with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the Board of Trustees in Nacogdoches ISD. You know, I always appreciate this opportunity to provide a brief update on the work of our district. We've had a very good start to our school year. Currently, we have just shy of 6,500 students in our schools. The number came in today, I looked at, was 6,497, so we're very close to the 6,500 number. The enrollment is looking very promising, as you'll hear later on in our meeting. We are almost fully staffed as of today. We're excited about the vision and the leadership that our principals and directors are providing, and we feel very confident in the teams that they've assembled. Most people may not know this, but we are the third largest employer in our community and the largest employer of professional staff members. We currently have 961 employees who devote their time and efforts to making our school district, Nacogdoches ISD, a great place for students and for one another. I'm really extremely happy to be part of the team. Nacogdoches ISD is excited about our new school district app, and I want to show you that just real quickly. The app is a great source of information and is always up to date because it pulls the information directly from our website. If you'd like to, take out your Android or your Apple device and we can get started using the app. I'll be very brief in this, and okay, I had to look at Holly for just a second to make sure that I knew what the code was. It'll pop up there. Okay, so as you look at this is if you can go to the Apple store or through the Android Play Store, the Google Play Store, you will go to something called Smart School. That's one word, Smart School. And you can download that app at Smart School, or either one of those stores, either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Once you get there, it will ask you to select a school, and it will say surrounding area or within your vicinity or something along those lines. Once you download the app, it'll come to, if you choose a school, if you choose Nacogdoches ISD, which is what I have chosen up there, the information comes out such as this. And I want to show you something that I find really that's very, very helpful for me as I try to work on my calendar. Holly does a wonderful job at my calendar, but sometimes I get confused. So when I'm away from the office, I pull up events, and right there it pops up all the events that are coming in a pretty recent time, coming up very quickly. So you can see tonight we have several open houses. We know when official senior portrait day is. So if you don't have time to go to the website and you're out and about and you're doing something mobile, you can pull it directly on your mobile device. Great way to pull up information about Nacogdoches ISD. You want to pull up news? It'll bring in the most current news that's on our website. Football schedule change notice. It has to do with 7th and 8th grade. So if that concerns you, there you go. Also, the staff directory, if you want to look at who's in the Nacogdoches ISD or whichever school you pull up, it'll pull that information up. But because this is pictures, it takes a little bit longer, specifically since we're on a wireless network here. So it takes a little longer if you're pulling up pictures, but there they are. And I believe if you push on any of them, it'll take you there. If you want to email Holly, you can email Holly. okay, or whoever else you want to email there. So I feel that this is a very good, very easy to work with app, and hopefully you'll get an opportunity to download that at either the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. So thank you very much for allowing me that opportunity to talk about that. But I have a couple other things, Mr. President, I want to bring up. But I'm excited about the app. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a very good thing for our school district and keep our community connected. This morning I had a chance to speak to the Nacogdoches County Retired Teacher Organization on the Nacogdoches ISD bond proposal, and have been invited to give the welcome to the regional meeting of the Retired Teachers Association in October. Travis Clardy, Robert Nichols, and others will be present at this meeting, so I'm very excited about the opportunity to give the Nacogdoches welcome at that particular meeting on October the 6th at 9 o'clock at First Baptist Church. Over the next 4 weeks, I or a representative from our office are set to speak at least 20 groups and organizations about the Nacogdoches ISD bond proposal. This is an opportunity for the school to share facts with our community groups and answer questions that any community group may have. If you're out there, if you're part of a group that would like to know more information about the bond proposal, please contact me via email or Holly. You can also call me on the phone, and Holly will certainly make sure that those arrangements are made through Patty Miller's office, and we'll make arrangements to come to speak to your group. Our goal is to increase the number of voters participating in the process. The average number of voters in the last 8 bond elections has been 3,800 voters. In May of 2014 bond election, that number was just shy of 2,300. So it was very low. Our plan and our goal is to increase that. Today marks the 228th anniversary since the signing of the United States Constitution. Nacogdoches ISD students from the Malcolm Rector Technical High School and TJR Academy of Fine Arts had a chance to take part in the annual bell ringing at the old university building. Nacogdoches City Mayor Dr. Roger Van Horn read a proclamation recognizing this week as Constitution Week in the city of Nacogdoches. The students and Dr. Van Horn then rang the bell 228 times in recognition of the anniversary. One point that I found out today that I did not know is that the bell in the old university building is from the same manufacturer that made the Liberty Bell. So, very interesting point. That ours is not cracked. But it was a great celebration, and we had a good time today. It was very warm out there, but it was a very good time. Mr. President, this concludes my report, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you.
Next, we have a facilities update, and for that, I'll call on Mr. LaRue.
Evening, President Davis, board members, Dr. Hayes. Some project updates. This is the roof over what's referred to as the old gym and the hot box or the annex of the old gym. This project is completed. Just at $200,000 price tag on that. It's a new membrane roof, white, helps reflect the heat. Looking off of that roof, you look onto other roofs at the high school, 3 sections, much bigger, at least 5 to 6 times bigger than what we just did. So we've got a lot of roof work. The roofers are really happy about that. I'm not so happy about that, but we've got a lot of roof work to be done. It's a good time to mention that been a lot of talk with the bond about our backlog in capital maintenance, and much of it is roof work, HVAC, things that, there's not much preventative maintenance we can do on a roof. These roofs reach that point to where they need replaced, and they just need replaced. Same thing with our HVAC unit. So just a little update there. Stadium project is 99% complete. Looks great. If you haven't been out for a game, painting the what I refer to as the older concession stands really made a big difference. Really made the place look good. You're looking there to the right of the visitors' ticket entrance. That gate was replaced with a nice new shiny gate, galvanized gate. It was supposed to be the black metal. So we're waiting on the fence contractor to come back, take that out, and replace it with the correct gate. And there's another gate over by the field house that needs replaced. This is out at the new tech center. This is our crew for their first grass cutting out there. We really should have borrowed somebody's hay machine and baled it, but we didn't have that opportunity. So we cut and we pushed and we blew into big piles, and we've got that grass cut for the first time and looking reasonable. Tech Center, Monday morning we kick off with Phase 2 construction out there. This past week we had a pre-construction meeting, so we're pretty excited about that project. That's moving along well. I will be coming back to you to talk at some future date, not asking for more staff. We're picking up more property, but we may need to look at another machine or something. But we're picking up some new equipment, some new areas that need cut, and these pictures are at the ag farm, and I'm sorry, they did not turn out well. This is at Reggae. That project is moving along very well. Very happy that we got through the weekend without any of you, I hope, receiving phone calls. We did the earthwork next to the cafeteria over the weekend. It involved moving about 950 cubic yards of dirt out and bringing in new dirt, good dirt, compactable dirt. And we had to do that over the weekend because it was right up against the cafeteria and the building. And the project went very well, but it did involve a pretty big fleet of dump trucks rolling through that neighborhood all weekend long. These are the foundation ditches. They've been, we're actually going to be pouring tomorrow for the foundation. That project's moving along. The plumbers have transitioned from the addition side over to the cafeteria side. The foundation people will do the same thing, so we're flipping them back and forth instead of having them leave the site. We're trying to work two sides back to back. You're looking at the playground. We relocated, just kind of made a larger playground for the kids to enjoy, and the safety fence that keeps the contractors and the kids separated. Here's some more ag farm. This is the entranceway. That'll be is about to be paved this week. This is the chicken house. We believe we have resolved chicken comfort issues have been we believe come to an agreement on. At least we're going to get something started and get some chickens in there and see how it works out. This pad is between the two buildings and is part the wash bay area, and that's already been poured. Lights are up. We're really closing in and wrapping that project up. We have some very nice fans. Fencing is in. They've been hydro seeding this week, so that project is going to look very good. There's the hitching post for the wash bay, so we don't think any of our cows are going to pull that out or pull it down. That's the extent of the stadium or project updates. Are there any questions I can answer?
I will say one thing, Mr. President, that we are still waiting on a closing on the situation out there at the Technical Training Center, so there will most likely be a delay in us getting started on that project. Mr. Hagan and I have been working back and forth, and we're going to work something out very quickly, but that's where we are right now. So.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
The farm looks really good.
It's really coming along great. We're trying on the grass cutting issue. We're trying to decide, the ag students and teachers will take care of inside the fence area, we're going to maintain a perimeter to get you in and out, to keep it looking good, and then once a year brush hog the back pastures.
Thank you, Mr. Peru. Next is the 2015-2016 enrollment report, and for that I'll call on Dr. Knox.
Good evening, President Davis, Dr. Hayes, board members. I have the opportunity to give you our update on our enrollment, and we always put it in a 5-year trend so you can compare apples to apples. If you look at our elementary comparisons, we are up over last year in the majority of our schools. Now, if you'll focus on Emmeline Carpenter Intermediate and Elementary, so that we can do a 5-year trend, we put their numbers together, but in parentheses is the actual number for that particular campus. And again, these numbers were submitted last Wednesday. They've changed, and I've got some updates for you. TJR is exploding right now, and we're trying to do some leveling there, and I believe Ms. Dowdy and her team have done a great job at all the campuses, along with the principals, of trying to level those campuses out. With the middle school comparisons, Moses has seen an increase. McMichael, not as much, but that number is actually today, McMichael was at 708, so it is starting to grow a little bit, and that's typical after Labor Day. Some numbers that are really pleasing are the high school numbers. At one time, this number was at 1705, so we're really excited about that. Today, the high school came in at 1694. And, of course, Mr. Winfield at the Rector Technical High School doing a great job recruiting and encouraging students to attend there. Total high school population at both campuses were at 1770, and if you'll look at last year, we were at 1705 at this point, so that's very encouraging. When we look at the total enrollment comparisons, you can see that we're trending. A week ago today, we were at 6496 when I submitted the numbers, and now we're at 6497. As long as we're increasing each day, we're doing well. And I'm really excited to keep that. If you looked at the last day of school, June 4th, I believe, or 5th, May 2015, our population was at 6379. So we've seen an increase. If we went back to Wednesday of last week a year ago, we were at 6440 at that time. And again, as Dr. Hayes mentioned, we're at 6497 right now. Financially, I always want to know, well, what does that mean for us? That difference in students from 6440 to where we're at currently, 6497, those 57 students, looking at the increase in the base allotment they did this year with the legislature, could bring in, if Chief Plow and his crew can get those kids to come to school every day, could bring in about $300,000 over what we had last year in just that alone. Now, that's just the basic allotment. Of course, some of these students have weighted ADA as well. But at this point, we're very pleased. Of course, our snapshot in October will be the telltale date, and after that, I'll probably bring you an update after the snapshot. Any questions over enrollment at this point?
Thank you, Dr. Knox.
Thank you.
Next, we have a report on the non-compliance items found during TEA visit. For that, I'll call on Christy Clark and Kevin Webb.
Good evening, President Davis, board members, and Dr. Hayes. During the week of March 9th, 2015, the Texas Education Agency conducted an on-site visit in Nacogdoches ISD. This visit was to review program areas of No Child Left Behind, Career and Technology, Bilingual and ESL, and Special Education. On July 6th of this year, the district received a letter with the results of the on-site visit. During the review, TEA identified 2 programs with areas of noncompliance. These programs include Special Education and Bilingual and ESL. Tonight we'll report to you on those identified areas of noncompliance. I will tell you with special education, we are held to a standard of 100%. So one item found is considered noncompliance. So the first item found in special education is a failure to clearly specify the anticipated frequency and duration of special education and related services is a violation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Item 2 is the failure to include goals and objectives for special education and related services is a violation of Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The third item that was found in special education is the failure of ARD committees to determine intensive programs of instruction for students who did not perform satisfactorily on state assessments, and this is a violation of the Texas Education Code.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm going to present the violations in the bilingual program. The first bilingual program item is for failure to provide instruction that is linguistically accommodated, commensurate with students' level of English language proficiency, so the students learn the required curriculum, and is a violation of the Texas Code. And the second bilingual item is for failure of the Language Proficiency Committee to determine the appropriate assessment option for an English language learner student, and is a violation also of the Texas Code. And I guess we'll take some questions if you have any.
What's the next step?
We have developed a corrective action plan for each of these items. Mr. Webb and I have already submitted that. It involves training for staff within special education.
The two bilingual items, one of them is really, the second one about the LPAC is really more of a process problem and pretty easy to fix. Just really training our committees to be careful about the process, especially when choosing the exams that our ELL students take. The first item is related to the number of students with 5 or more years in our system who have not moved beyond the intermediate level of language proficiency. And we're working, I think, effectively with that through professional development and really emphasizing with teachers the importance of developing language proficiency as part of increasing academic skill.
From the special ed standpoint, we've added additional checks and balances for our paperwork because this was done in a folder review. So if a box was not marked, if I did not find the right piece of paper, so we put in an additional checks and balances for that.
And I understand if I understood what you were saying about the 100% compliance, which is if they find a folder with an unchecked box, so it's.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, or a plan missing. One folder means we are out of compliance. They reviewed 27 folders out of approximately 500.
Right.
When will this be re-reviewed, or will it be?
We have a year to complete the corrective action items. My goal is that the plan is completed before Christmas, easily.
So of those 27, how many were out of compliance?
They don't give us those figures. I have a suspicion, but they don't. Unfortunately, you don't get a full detailed report.
So they don't even tell you what to go back and fix?
Well, we do know these items, yes, we know what to go back and fix.
No, I'm talking about on the specific folders. You don't need, they don't.
Yeah, we will be going through every folder.
But they didn't tell you this one was wrong.
So you got to hunt and peck and find.
That's why we're reviewing every folder.
Do you mind going back to the code, administrative code numbers, so I can write them down?
It was in Mr. Webb's report.
The Texas Administrative Code for bilingual, and then it's federal law for special ed and Texas Education Code also.
Where is it in the TEC? Do you know
It's
the statute?
There it is.
Chapter 28.0213.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did they visit any classrooms or just looked at folders?
No, they did do classroom visits. They were complimentary on things that they saw. The letter from July 6th specifically said we had to report items of non-compliance to ladies and gentlemen.
And in regards to bilingual, they did interview teachers, administrators at different conferences in regards to our particular practices.
Thank you. And next, the impact of truancy laws and updates, and for that, we'll call on Chief Float.
Good evening, President Davis, board members, Dr. Hayes. As many of you know through media, there were changes made in truancy law by the last legislative session. I'm going to just briefly go over them and not get really detailed, but tell you the basics of it and what we're doing here. The major points or changes in the law was from a student standpoint, all students now, it went to civil instead of criminal. So any child that we file on or student that we file on, we actually file on them civilly now instead of criminally. Parents, on the other hand, they still fall under criminal, and they would be filed a criminal complaint on a parent. Another change they did was change the age requirement from 18 to 19. In the past, we could not file on an 18-year-old. The only recourse we had was to actually move them out of school after they had 5 unexcused absences, basically kick them out. They changed that to 19. So we will now have control over 18-year-olds as far as attendance goes. Also, part of the deal was saying that a school shall adopt truancy prevention measures. And while we were already doing that, they're a little more specific now in saying that a school has to come up with what's basically a behavior improvement plan for a child that falls under truancy. And so that behavior improvement plan has to come into place. There's some counseling and parts of it. So a few more steps that the school has to do as far as to remediate and keep the kid from being truant. Notification of parents, there has to actually be, which we have in the handbook, a notice to the parents about attendance. But in addition to that, after their, I believe it's second or third unexcused absence, we have to actually notify them. And we were already doing that through our home visits, but we are doing that on campus and through our home visits. Probably one of the biggest changes is this next one. Whereas in the past, we could file on them for 3 or more absences in a 4-week period, it changed to 10 or more. So now the legislator says we cannot basically file on a parent or a kid until they have 10 or more unexcused absences in a 6-month period. So they actually hurt us, but we were sort of seeing this coming, so we were somewhat prepared for that in what we were going to do here in our district. I know you can't read this up there, but I think you have copies of it.
Yeah.
Basically, at the end of last year, since we saw this law coming, we sort of divided up what we were going to do with our truancy officers, and that we were not only going to have them working on truancy, but we were also going to have them working on the 90% in kids attending, because we saw through truancy that students, once they learned if they turned in an excuse, they were still absent just as many times, but they weren't unexcused anymore. So what we feel is by using the 90% rule, we can, so we're doing home visits on both now. We're doing home visits on 90%, so if a kid is excused even, we're doing home visits if it reaches 7 or more. On truancy, we're doing at 2 or more, we're doing, or 2 or 3 or more, we're doing a home visit on that kid, and then turning them over to school to do a behavior improvement plan and do what they do. As soon as they've taken their action, it comes back to the truancy officers, and then at 10 we would file. We've met with the county court and with precinct 3, and we have that sort of all lined out how that's civil. As far as penalty goes for a kid, none of that really changed. Civilly, they could still be fined. All the same stuff that could happen. It's just not a civil. It's a civil record on a kid, not a criminal record. So that's really the big change. Was really not that much change. So we're going to continue to do. We've worked very hard this summer and started school with our principals and assistant principals and lining all this out and what their role will be and what our role will be. And we think we sort of have a handle on how we can be effective and help Dr. Knox out. Any questions?
You answered my question about the civil filing. I couldn't imagine what relief we would seek against a child civilly. I like the fact that it's not a criminal filing, but how's that worded?
What basically is happening is the county court is actually the prosecutor on the case. They are giving us a petition that we actually will fill out and send to Precinct 3. They send it on. She signs off on it, and it comes back as a civil filing or complaint on that kid. Now, we're going to be a lot more stringent about looking at each individual case, and she is. It basically comes down to the prosecutor. The court changed a lot of rules, too, but the prosecutor will have a lot more say in which ones go forward and which ones don't. But they already have a history on some of the ones we're talking about, too, from last year and the year before. So, but we've already ironed out basically what that complaint process would be. I'm not real certain about, really, they will start with very basic stuff like doing community service, and those things will still be attached as relief for that kid. But it's possible that that parent will be there on a criminal complaint in addition to that.
Right, and so there's a chance the wording of it, the relief that we seek could be different based on the history of the child or the student?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. And then you said in your slide, you said the parent and or the student. Is that, whose discretion is that, whether you file one or the other or both?
It's actually what we do. It's a decision we make, but we will not file civilly against an elementary kid, okay? At the elementary level, it's been our practice, and this is what we set up with the court, is that at the elementary level, we will file a criminal complaint against the parent, okay? At middle school, we will make a decision based on the situation. If we have reason to believe that parent is the reason, or if the kid is just the reason, we'll make a decision based on the circumstances in each individual case. And then at the high school, normally we only file on the child at the high school, unless we find some reason that that's not the case. Just because of the age and their want to get to school, or who's running the household, or that type of situation, we use our discretion in who we file on.
Can we, at the end of the year, this is a long time from now, but can we get a report on how those civil filings panned out?
Yeah. And one other thing, one other little tweak in the law is, now before we file, there are about 4 items that we have to look at. If a student is pregnant, we cannot file on. If they're homeless, we cannot file on. If they're like a head of household, they're making the money for the house, we cannot file on. So there's a set of about 4 items that we have to look through before we can actually file on a student.
When we got the truant officers, the whole philosophy was that, because the courts weren't being that just wasn't very effective. The truant officers were kind of set up to basically just be an aggravation to them, just to kind of make their life miserable if they're not at school. Does that seem to be philosophically, or we seem to be, are they able to, they have enough time to just be in the, knocking on doors all the time to the point where they would rather come to school than to be aggravated?
I can say that they sometimes have those meetings in my office, and there's a lot of aggravation taking place. But I can say that we were not worried about the law changing that much, because we feel the home visits and the visits with parents and all that, regardless of how many and whether we filed, was the effective part of the deal. And that's why with the 90% rule, we feel we can be just as effective with the help of our campuses in making a change in that kid, because we're also talking about other factors when you're talking 90% of a kid having to go to summer school, or there's other things we can do besides fines that we feel we can be effective with the students being at school.
Keep up the aggravation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, the annual bilingual ESL report, and for that, Mr. Webb again.
Good evening, President Davis, board members, and Dr. Hayes. As required by the state of Texas, I am here to present the annual report on bilingual ESL education. I know you've probably had a chance to kind of look at the report in advance, so I'm going to try to move through it pretty rapidly. Started the report, of course, with the definition of the English language learner. As some of you know, we have two terms that we use in our acronym alphabet: LEP, Limited English Proficient, and ELL, English Language Learner, which are often used interchangeably and have to do with students whose academic performance is likely affected by the fact that they are learning another language from what they grew up with. Per end of the year, last year, we had 1,813 LEP students. And in addition, 97 LEP students that were in their first or second year of being monitored before they're completely kind of off of the books, if you will. Of those 97, probably around 60 are no longer LEP after 2 years of being monitored. And then we had 93 students last year who met criteria for being exited in 2015-2016. Instructional programs for English language learners include bilingual programs at the elementary level and either integrated ESL services for the majority of our upper elementary and secondary students, and some pull-out programs, especially as related to some of our newcomers that come into the middle school or high school with no language, or little English language, I should say. They have language, just not English language. This is just a quick chart to show English language learner enrollment over the past 4 years, which you can see is steadily growing. State accountability for English language learners. Just to mention that research indicates that it takes 5 to 7 years to develop proficiency in language. The state encourages us to do it much faster, and of course accountability is measured ultimately through student achievement measures for other students like STAR, but also importantly language proficiency with the TELPAS measure. These were NISD, Nacogdoches ISD STAR results for English language learners overall, all grades. And of course we have the ELPS, the English Language Proficiency Standards, and which are very important, I think, for teachers to understand and encourage instructional strategies that can kind of push kids, if you will, to speak, to listen, to read, and to write. And of course there is a process, the rating system for the state is TELPAS, and we train teachers to actually be able to administer that test, including learning how to rate writing, which is a real challenge. Our TELPAS numbers, the most important thing is they give us sort of an idea if students are advancing, where they are in their various levels for those 4 domains, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And they also receive a composite score. We also like to look at if students are making a year or more progress over the course of the year. And as you see here, we had about 52% of our K through 2 students who made a year or more progress and 40% of our secondary students who made a year or more progress. That's a number that we'd like to see go up on both counts. This is just a history of the past 4 years in terms of the number of students that have been able to exit. There's a certain criteria that students must meet in order to be considered successfully, predictably successful in academics because of their English proficiency. We were glad to see that number go up. And of course, we have a number of different kinds of, I know we can't read that very well, but a number of great professional development opportunities. The first one mentioned there is the Sheltered Instruction Operation Protocol, SIOP training. It's outstanding training. It takes 3 days, and we do it primarily during the summer so that we're not taking kids out or taking teachers out of the classroom. We, over the last year and 2 sessions this year, we've trained over 100 teachers in those strategies, and I think they're going to really make a difference and have been really well received by the teachers that have attended, and I see evidence that those strategies are being implemented. Also mentioned Gomez and Gomez, which support our dual language program at Nettie Marshall. We still continue to benefit from a partnership with Stephen F. Austin State University, the Confianza program, which in addition to other things pays for certification of teachers so that they're able to add the ESL endorsement to their certificate. We will have 30 teachers participating in the Second Language Acquisition Academy. The expectation for those teachers is that they attend all 3 Saturdays. They register for the test, take the test, and then pass the test, and then get it on their certificate. When it gets on their certificate, we pay them $300 plus reimburse them for the fees and for the testing. And then finally, we also last year worked with John Seidlitz, who's also an outstanding expert in regards to best practices for English language learners. Just a quick mention of summer school. We are required to provide a program for our pre-K and kindergarten students. It's a great program. We had 120 kids participate. It really gives them a leg up on the coming school year, and it's also a whole lot of fun. Next year I'm going to invite you all to the July 4th parade. Families come out, we eat watermelon, we parade around. All the kids are dressed in red, white, and blue. They've got their bikes decorated. We sing the national anthem, and it's a really outstanding, fun event. We also had a secondary newcomers program that coincided with the high school and summer school schedule. And this is our plan of action for 2015-16. Obviously, I think I mentioned our language proficiency assessment committees and making sure that they're trained and able to monitor our students more effectively. We're also going to utilize our Confianza teams. I mentioned the Confianza component for training teachers. There's also a Confianza leadership component where our principals, an instructional coach and demonstration teacher attend outstanding professional development at SFA and bring that professional development back to their campuses. And in addition, support our new teachers that are working through Confianza to get their ESL certifications. So obviously, high-quality professional development. We want to increase the number of bilingual ESL teachers, and we are working as a district, will be working as a district to develop greater consistency among our bilingual and ESL programs. Any questions?
Have you seen has the trend changed any to where are we getting kids in upper elementary and middle school that are still coming in as first timers, or are they mostly coming? Are we starting to see a trend where they're coming in at pre-K and coming through the system?
Well, I think they're just really coming in at all grades, and also the other thing that's interesting is that we're starting to see some different kinds of English language learners. I just got an LPAC report from high school, and it included 10 Somali students that have just arrived in our schools in the United States. So we have, I meant to include a slide there for all the different kinds of languages that are being spoken. Obviously, still our primary language is Spanish, but we've got, I think, 25 to 30 different languages that are spoken for students that are coming into our district.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Next, we're going to have a Suddenlink compatibility report. For that, I'll call on Mr. Jason Wiggins.
Good evening, President Davis, board members, and Dr. Hayes. First, I will explain to you what the compatibility issue is, and then I'll give you a brief history about it. And if you have any specific questions, I can answer them as they come. So on the website, on everything that NISD or Nacogdoches ISD host, which means any server that we have in-house, we have to have two links. We have one that is the normal link that says eSchool or Dragon Mail or whatever, and then we have one for Suddenlink users. The purpose of that is Suddenlink Internet Service Providers, DNS, which means Domain Name Resolution, does not recognize Nacogdoches ISD's DNS servers. What a DNS server does is if you have a server and you name it eSchool, that server has an IP address. The world only really knows that server as the IP address. Any Joe on the street's not going to know what that IP address is to be able to go to the website. So when you want to go to eSchool.com, you have to have a DNS server. And the DNS server has to propagate or go out to all the other servers in the world, in the internet environment. And if they don't see that name, if it doesn't propagate properly to them or they do not accept the incoming connections, the only way you can access it is with the IP address. So in the background, what you see for Suddenlink customers' links, our link is that IP address. We're just making it easier so you don't have to know the IP address. It is a problem, and a little bit of history on the problem and the things that we've tried to do to resolve the issue. It actually started, we noticed it in early 2013, which sounds horrible because it sounds like we've not been addressing a problem, but I assure you that's not been the case. We noticed that the DNS was not resolving in around April 2013. We had already slated to change our internet service providers, which would ultimately change our DNS servers, which would give us a better chance at fixing the problem. Well, in July 2013, we signed away from AT&T to Consolidated Internet Services, which should have fixed the problem if it was a DNS problem. It didn't fix the problem. So we then rebuilt older servers that we had in an effort to fix the problem. So we built, where we had one server, we made two more robust, newer servers to perform these features and functions. Still didn't fix the problem. So after that, we contacted the regional hostmaster out of University of Texas, and we re-registered our domain name with them just to make sure there was no problems. They tested all of our domains. They said they see everything properly by name and by IP address. There was no issues. Obviously, there was still a Suddenlink issue. So then we went to Cisco, who provides our firewall service. We opened up a Cisco technical support case with them. They logged in, and these are people that are smarter than me when it comes to that thing. They gave us a clean bill of health on our firewall, said that there's nothing that they could do different. So we moved on further. We opened up a Microsoft support case. We had them log in with Microsoft professionals to view our servers. They all gave us a clean bill of health. They said there's nothing that you can do different. They were able to resolve to everything, and everything worked perfectly. So at that point, we attempted to start contacting Suddenlink. This is after several attempts to contact Suddenlink. The problem with the school district is we don't have Suddenlink services, so nobody will speak with us. So where we went from there is we had technicians on our staff that have Suddenlink internet service, so we started messing with their home internet, trying to figure out what the key was. With that, we went out and they reported back to us that Suddenlink was updating servers, increasing speeds around Nacogdoches, and at that time was around 2013 when the problem started. So we had our technicians put in, there's internet DNS servers that are free. We put in, it's called OpenDNS. We had them put that into their router. All of Nacogdoches ISD's websites work perfectly. We tried Google DNS server. All Nacogdoches websites work perfectly. so on and so forth with the Microsoft OpenDNS, with any other DNS server for any other internet service provider, being AT&T, being Direct, Dish Network, being any satellite provider, anything you can think of besides Suddenlink's DNS servers, it worked. Occasionally on Suddenlink Internet Service, it does work. So we started trying to track down what that was. There's 3 DNS servers for Suddenlink, or there was at the time that we were tracking this down. When your router hit that one DNS address, it worked perfectly. When your IP address renewed at home, it didn't work so well on the other 2. So we have contacted Suddenlink since then, and we got Mr. Faust involved, who is the regional person in this area, and he was able to direct us to their network team. Their network team, again, after the 3rd time, and all these certifications of all these companies who know more than anybody in this room or this county, still say it's NISD servers. But I can go to each and every one of your homes and change one setting, and your internet works perfect. So that is the compatibility issue, and where we stand now, we'll have to continue to go back to Suddenlink until we get someone else on the phone who will be open to listening. Any questions, or if I can explain it a different way, or?
No, I know that we have a number of, Suddenlink is a major provider of internet in our community.
Yeah, and that's why it's such a big deal, because they're the largest provider for internet services in Nacogdoches. And we continue to try to work with them, but short of me going and fixing their DNS servers, I don't know that I can do much.
When does our contract run with them?
We don't have a contract with Suddenlink. The only thing that would fix our internet problem is to get internet service with Suddenlink unless they change their DNS. I have a suspicion what's wrong, but I can't make them change it because they're an ISP provider and I work for Nacogdoches ISD. We did go out for bids for their internet services, and they're not in the same ballpark for pricing.
So the impact that this has is on parents, for example, trying to log in and look at homework assignments.
Correct.
Or
And that's why we have to have a home access center and then a home access center for Suddenlink users. Then we have the gradebook for Suddenlink users. I mean,
and Mr. Wiggins, don't we have an application for employment and then an application for employment for Suddenlink users?
yes, sir. And then our eSchool, we used to do our substitute management system. We used to host that as well, and we moved that outside of our district. It's on AT&T servers now, and Suddenlink supports AT&T servers. They do not support our servers. Not to be overly technical, it has to do with a secured and unsecured connection. Doesn't mean you're open to be hacked, but they're not accepting one type of traffic from us, but they are accepting another type. But they're only accepting both types of traffic from us on one server.
Are the links, the normal links and the Suddenlink link, next to each other on the website so the parent can see the difference?
Correct. We first opened Home Access Center because only inside on a non-Suddenlink account, and then we made sure everything worked, and then we opened up a Suddenlink account. The difference is, the only reason why we can't make just one work and only put the Suddenlink user's account up there is because it will not work from inside the district. And we have to have access to the gradebook, to the eSchool programs, all those programs that we can't access outside the district. We have to have both links, so one, we can access them, and two, the outside can access them. If you have anything besides Suddenlink, you can access them off of either address on the outside.
how frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
Mr. Davis, I will say this, when Suddenlink was contacted by their customers, they were more open to working with Mr. Wiggins.
So if we can get Nacogdoches ISD's customers to come together
Look into the camera when you say that.
we have to get the Suddenlink customers of Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County to come together and hopefully we can get this resolved.
So you're
where are
saying
you-
call customer support and tell them what the problem is?
So who, the person you're contacting, is that person in Nacogdoches or where?
He's in Nacogdoches. He's back and forth, but he's the regional manager in this area.
Who's his boss?
There's a guy out of Conroe, and he's not easily reached.
Who's his boss?
I don't know that. I don't have that answer.
Well, maybe we need to get that answer. Because it's kind of like truant students. How much are we willing to aggravate?
Correct.
It's kind of ironic, you can talk to UT and Microsoft, but you can't talk to Suddenlink.
Correct. We pay Suddenlink and Cisco, and UT is a free service to all educational entities that provide us free domains.
Sounds like a superintendent and a director of technology issue.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you, Mr. Wiggins.
Thank you.
Next, we move to the consent agenda. Unless removed from the consent agenda, all items will be acted on with one motion. If there's a board member who wishes to discuss an item on the consent agenda separately, please indicate the agenda letter, and it will be set aside for further discussion and a separate vote. I am pulling B2.
I'd like to pull C3 and F.
C3 and F. Okay. All right, can I get a motion for everything except B2, C3, and F?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda except for B2,
C3.
C3, and F.
Got a motion from Mr. Green. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Howarth. Any questions? All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you, Board. The B2, I talked to Ronnie earlier, Dr. Knox, and on page 153 of your board book, there's information on the money that going toward projects, and I think I got the right page. And I just asked him to review that with us. I thought it was good information.
We were asked to put together a construction flow, basically, and Ms. Barbarick was able to do that, and I'm going to ask her to walk you through the numbers for the projects, trying to stay at the 360-foot level, but if we need to get more specific, just let her know.
You say 153?
153.
Good evening, President Davis, board members, Dr. Hayes. All right, if you look at page 1 of this report, you'll see the top headings are project description, the vendor that was paid for the project, the date of the payment, whether the first part of it is the committed funds for projects, how much was spent in this current, the 14-15 year, the remaining balance, and whether that remaining balance was carried over to 15-16. If it wasn't carried over, what was remaining in 14-15. So the first project is the NISD Technical Training Center purchase. So you'll see we had committed $500,000 in funds. We spent $5,000 for the down payment, leaving $495,000, and that has since carried over to 15-16. And you continue down with each project, working down the spreadsheet until we finish up with the committed projects, and then just various other projects from around the district. Those funds of $567,000 and $567.40 were the other funds remaining in Function 81, and they were spent on the various projects listed below. You finally,
I'm sorry, she's on page 154 now.
At the bottom.
As you continue down the
155.
spreadsheet, you'll finally come to the totals. We had budgeted over $6 million in Function 81. We spent $1.9 million, which left $4.7 million, and we have carried all but $600,000 over into 15-16. The $600,000 was what was committed as a contingency fund for future construction projects.
We still have that, it's just in a different fund, in a different balance.
Well, it's in fund balance.
Right.
It's sitting in fund balance. It has not been uncommitted as of the end of the 14-15.
So it's assigned as a contingency, or?
It's actually committed.
Committed. Okay,
Committed.
thank you.
And only the board can commit
Right.
funds.
Got it.
Do you have any other questions on this spreadsheet?
No, I just thought it was a good report. I wanted it
Okay.
highlighted.
All right.
Anybody have a question? In that case, can I get a motion to approve business reports B2?
So moved.
And a second?
We'll see.
Got a motion from Mr. Howard, second from Mr. Martinez. All in favor? And that's approved unanimously. Thank you, board. Next is C3, Mr. Howard.
On the cover sheet, and I don't know who to address, maybe Ms. Dowdy, it says it did not include enough seats for Reggae and BQJ. Was that planned or anticipated, or was that a surprise?
What page is that? What page are you on?
It's
Page
168.
168.
Was it a surprise that we had more teachers to train?
Well, basically, the way that it's written, it said did not include the original amount that we approved did not include enough seats.
There were more teachers to train at those two campuses than anticipated, so we had to include more seats to get the entire campuses trained.
And what was the reason for more teachers needing training?
That,
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Dr. Knox has been involved in this since the start, so if you don't mind, Mr. Howard.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We had new teachers on that campus that had moved in. We had anticipated some teachers that had already been trained at that campus. Moving over there, they didn't. And so that increased more people than what Mr. Chaddock originally had planned for on training.
So the differential, you would say, would be an NISD caused situation as opposed to the flipping group?
Yes, the flipping group didn't charge us more. We had anticipated these people have been trained, they're on this campus, they transferred off that campus, which meant we had more people to train than what we thought. The flipping group didn't increase the price or quote us one price and then increase it. The increase was due because we sent more people that needed training than what we had originally planned.
So when you say that the per person price
Was still
is the same,
Yes.
we just had more people to train?
Yes, the amount was more.
And I guess the answer to my second question is probably the same. It was amended from 32,600 to 39,800. Is that the same reason that?
Yes, and I'm actually the one that wanted this brought back to you because you originally had approved that one price.
Yes.
And I wanted to make sure you understood that we amended it and actually paid more. So when you looked at the check register, you'd see a difference there.
So the amendment, you're $7,200.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Even though that's below the 10,000, because it was more than the original price, I asked Ms. Dowdy to bring this back.
Thank you for that.
Well, that was just an oversight, or?
No, it wasn't an oversight. It was, we planned on a certain number when Mr. Chaddock set this up and ended up having to train more people than that number, so they charged us extra for those seats.
But again, at the same per person seat
Yes,
cost?
the same per person seat cost. We added more participants.
Thank you.
Our estimate was low, I guess is probably a good way to put that, and Ms. Dowdy and Mr. Martin are working to make sure that that doesn't happen next year, that we present you with the number, that it will not be more than that. They're working very close together.
No other questions?
Okay. With that complete, can I get a motion concerning C3?
I move that we approve item C3.
Thank you. Ms. Rushing, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Green, any further comment? All in favor? Be Zeke, Mr. Martinez, Ms. Rushing, myself. Those opposed? That would be Mr. Howard. Those abstaining?
Oh, I was looking at something else. I vote for it.
Mr. Green adds 4. So that would be 4.
I was reading ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Item F, the joint election, $9,372. That seems kind of steep. Is that a prorated amount with the county? And if so, is there an itemized breakdown
Let me
of that
finish the
prorated?
other item real quick.
sorry.
The voting. The
That is
approve.
more than the traditional May election because they're 2 weeks of
Or
early
don't.
notice and I think 11 and 12 election day sites.
And is that prorated? Is our amount prorated with the county, or?
Sharing the cost.
That's what I mean, yes. Equally, as far as you know, or Raleigh?
Holly, Ms. Anderson would handle that, so.
Look at the cost, I think it's towards the end, it has a breakdown of 275.
Okay. Thank you. What'd you want to do?
Concerning the flip-flipping vote, that would be for approve Mr. Green, myself, Ms. Rushing, and Mr. Martinez, 1 opposed, Mr. Howard. Concerning the joint election agreement, Mr. Howard, do you have other questions, or
No,
was your
sir.
question answered?
No, that was answered, thank you.
Okay, concerning that, can I get a motion?
I move we approve item F.
All right, Ms. Rushing, can I get a second?
A second.
Mr. Green, I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's unanimous.
I
Thank
didn't
you,
read
Board.
right ahead this time.
Thank you. Okay. And now, the Board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss the items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act and as allowed by the Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting, and any action the Board wishes to take as a result of the discussion in closed session will take place after the Board reconvenes in open session. It is now 7:28. Thank you.